Due to the 18 plus nature of the content in Neon Gods by Katee Robert, this episode of Okay, But Did You Know comes with a content advisory. This discussion may not be suitable for younger listeners. If this is an episode you'd like to skip, we completely understand and welcome you back in the next episode.
Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? Pedantic Book Club. Normally, we're a podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before. But once a quarter, we stop and discuss a book with our book club members on Patreon about a book that has either been adapted into a series or film or a retelling.
This quarter, our pick was Neon Gods by Katee Robert. I want to add, it was random. We have a randomizer system.
Yes.
I may have been joking for months that I wanted to get you to read this book series, but like it was random. And I will repeat that when we discuss what the next pick is.
Yeah, it's just so funny.
They're not anything alike.
No. We're all over the place.
There's a theme, I promise.
It's a very vague theme.
It's a very vague theme. So this book is the first in their Dark Olympus series, which is a collection of modern retellings of Greek myths. The author self-proclaims these to be loosely inspired. We do use that term loosely very liberally here. Neon Gods was originally published on June 1st, 2021. The full series, when completed, will span 10 different books. As of the publication of this episode, the 7th book will have just been released, and the series will likely finish in the beginning of 2026. Now,
so if you like this,
book, if you like this episode, we're not going to be doing this entire series. We love Katee Robert. They are truthfully one of my favorite authors. And as of the recording of this episode, I will get to meet them in 2 days because I will be at the book event for the newest book in the series, Dark Restraint. But like, we love them, but like we don't need to become the Katee Robert book club.
No,
we're not going to do the whole series. This Katie needs a break with the spice because spice is not
something I automatically are like it. When I grab books, I very much will be like, I need XYZ. Spice does not tend to be a category.
Yeah, it's not really a deciding factor.
It's not a deciding factor. I'm very much like, I need a ghost story. I need dragons. I need violence. Like, that's kind of what my brain goes to.
I mean, they wrote a dragon fucker.
Yeah, I heard.
Deal with the dragon.
The thing is, though, as of right now, I have my own Patreon that I do stuff on. No one's obligated to join, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But I have a public list of over 200 dragon books on it. I'm pretty sure Katee Robert's book is on there.
It's The Dragon's Bride. Is that what that one's called?
I think that one's The Dragon's Bride.
His thing is, it's on my shelf, but I can't see the spine of that one.
But I am officially reading through and reviewing all the dragon books on the list, and the list continues to grow. I found another dragon book that's about to come out very soon. So like, they're all going to have review, it has a review tab on my spreadsheet now. So I will be reading that
at some point.
I wanted Neon Gods to be my first Katee Robert book.
Me too.
I didn't, because I also have access to like a couple of the audiobooks for a couple of books that they just did. Obviously I want to read The Dragon Fucker. Like, who doesn't want that? So
if you can't tell, Katee Robert writes very adult romance novels. This is something, and our podcast episode had the 18 plus content advisory, and this is something that I will say, they are phenomenal at posting content warnings for all of their books on their website. If they're not in the beginning of the book, like I think as the series goes, they start being in the book.
Yeah.
This one didn't, but
this one does not.
But they're always, tropes, tags, and content warnings are always on their website. So for any Katee Robert book, I always say, please, please, please check the content warnings first.
Which I'm a huge advocate for content warnings.
Yes.
I am an individual that needs them.
Exactly.
Like, Lauren is already like, skip this book, skip this chapter. Like, Lauren is taking care of me through the series.
Especially, we'll get to the synopsis in a second, but because we still haven't finished the intro technically. But this is the third episode we're recording tonight. The plans go out the window.
Immediately.
We have a script, I promise. But once we read the content warnings for Neon Gods, when Kay started reading it, I did say, I'm like, I had to think for a second of where that was. And like, this is how it is in the book. So you should be okay. But if it gets to be too much, I'll tell you when to stop. I'll tell you like what pages to skip, basically.
Which is great. Like, when I've read books that I've needed very much, like, oh my God, I probably shouldn't read this without guidance.
Yeah.
But I've had many friends, thank you so much, especially to like my friends Christina, who I read All the Hidden Paths, and there's a very explicit like essay scene in it, and she told me it's immediate. This is what happens. If you need to skip it, this is what happened. Like, she helped me through that so much, and I'm forever grateful for that. And it's ended up being one of my favorite duologies ever.
Nice.
By Foz Meadows, by the way. Another
Very nice.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
We are team content warnings are accessibility tools in this household.
Yes.
So let's do the synopsis for Neon Gods before we get into the rest of our discussion. And this was Lauren wrote the synopsis, so it is on the long side. This is not the back cover copy. I decided this.
Lauren did it.
Lauren did this. So the synopsis. Power of the 13 reigns supreme in Olympus. This council makes up the ruling class, each with their own territories. Persephone is the second oldest daughter of the recently minted Demeter, and during one of the parties in the upper city, Zeus unexpectedly proposes to Persephone to make her the new Hera. Zeus has a reputation for how he's handled his last 3 wives, and Persephone yearns to be free of this city. As she runs away, chased by a few of Zeus's henchmen, she stumbles across the river Styx and ends up in the lower city, the domain of Hades, a member of the 13 most had assumed to be a myth. Hades has a personal vendetta against Zeus for killing his parents, and now Zeus's new fiancée has stumbled right into his grasp. When Persephone offers him an opportunity to get back at Zeus in a special way, he accepts, and the two engage in activities that seek to tarnish Persephone's pure reputation, at least until she is old enough to claim her inheritance and leave Olympus for good. But saying goodbye to their arrangement can be difficult, especially after they've fallen in love. And now, if they want to stay together, they'll have to take on Olympus to do it.
Yeah, I'd say a special way, all right.
Real special.
So special.
So special. So this is a spicy book.
So just some light exhibitionism.
Some light exhibitionism and bratting, really.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so much bratting. I love a good brat.
One of my notes was like, Persephone, you cannot brat 24/7. I don't care what you think.
I think you actually said that to me at some point when I was reading, and I'm like, yeah, she can. Yes, she can. As a self-proclaimed brat, yes, she can. Look, I'm a self-proclaimed brat, but my husband just doesn't know it.
Oh, okay. Like, she can certainly try.
She succeeded.
I think so.
She did a great job with that.
Fantastic job. A+. So I want to add on, I read with my eyes and listened to the audiobook because my brain at this point, I have a hard time reading books more than 200 pages long without an audiobook. The audiobook was narrated by Zara Hampton Brown, and Alex Moorcock is his pseudonym. It's a great name. But it really does bring to mind, there's a book written by Julia Whalen, who's an audiobook narrator. The book is about audiobook narrators. It's very meta. But the guy in the book, his pseudonym was Brock McKnight. I think they make a joke that's like, what was Dick McDick taken?
Okay, then.
It's very, that's what it brings to mind.
This was, okay. So we've already spoken about Katee don't do spicy very often.
Yes.
I don't. I have read spice.
I would say
because of Lauren.
Yeah, I would say of the books that I've sent you though, like I mostly have sent you like Hallmark After Dark level where it's like,
yeah,
even if the ones do start earlier, like the one that is an SMP book, so we won't actually say the title of it, but the one that I yell at you about all the time where it starts on page 5. That
was so good.
I would still consider it Hallmark After Dark level. It's on the higher end of that, but it's still like that level of like, it's a really sweet romance, but also it's very sprinkled spice.
Yeah, and I'm used to about that level because if you go into like Delilah Green or even Triple Sec, the one you sent me for our podcast anniversary, that had maybe 3 scenes in it. Mm-hmm. Great scenes.
3 great scenes.
Great scenes. But I don't. I am not somebody who tends to go, ooh, let me go read something spicy.
Yeah, that's fair.
And when I didn't realize, so I have a history of, how do we talk about this? Okay, it's explicit. We already put a warning.
There is. I mean, this is an explicit podcast. We've talked about this. So like
yes,
but also like talk about it however you're comfortable.
Yes. I'm comfortable with this very much. So you and I have spoken plenty about this between the two of us, like being a part of the kink community over the years. I'm 30.
Yeah, we're adults.
I don't want to admit how long I've been in the kink community, but because then I feel old.
We're all. We don't do the math. The math hurts us. Just say a while.
No, the math hurts. A while. Let's say a while. So, like, getting into this, I didn't realize, like, when you went spicy, you didn't just mean spicy. You meant kinky.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made the book even better for me. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, wait, I know about this. And I got really excited.
This is one thing that I love about Katee's books is so much, and this is going to be so weird saying their name.
I know.
Because we know that they're spelled differently. Katee Robert is spelled Katee and you are IE, but whatever. You know, I'm not talking about you.
I know you're talking about. They're not my books.
They're not your books. But what I love about the way that they write kink and just the sex in general is there's always such a deep consideration for the consent, the negotiation, the safe words, the lubrication. You don't see that a lot.
No, you don't.
You need
this is not 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm really grateful.
No, it's not. If this had been picked up by like everyone's book club, maybe people would have been safer.
Just a little bit. After my time in the kink community, I have to say that is probably one of the big ones that I'm like, I hate this book with a burning passion.
I saw the first movie. I never actually read the book.
No, I refuse to watch the movies. Well, it's the principle.
I was told I was told the first one's the worst because it's the closest to the book.
Oh no. That's a horrible that's a horrible thing to say, honestly.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, that's what I was told.
In the book world, we want the adaptation to be as close to the book as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to hear the first line I wrote down?
I do.
That I got excited for? I will say I only made it so far taking notes because after a certain point, I couldn't put the book down.
Yeah.
So I only have so many notes because it got really good.
Yeah, it did.
But I loved the beginning. You ran like a frightened deer and thought he wouldn't chase you down. Sweetheart, that's practically foreplay for Zeus. He'll find you and drag you back to that palace of his. You'll marry him just like the obedient daughter you are, and within a year you'll be popping out his asshole children. I slap him. And I'm like, yes, she fucking did.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that interaction because it made it very clear that this was not like a immediate interaction. They're attracted to each other, obviously. They're hot.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an immediate oh, let's do this. It definitely took some.
It takes time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of these books. I would say as the books go on, the instant attraction makes more sense because the characters all know each other. So not that they're all friends to lovers arcs, but everyone's usually aware of each other. So the attraction early on makes sense. These two are more or less perfect strangers because prior to the book, Persephone was with everybody else thinking that Hades was basically a myth, that Hades had
which is crazy.
The boogeyman. So the thing with the Hades thing, so this is a series that is connected to another one of Katee Roberts' series, the Wicked Villain series, because that one has book 2 of that series is Learn My Lesson, which is Meg, Hades, and Hercules. So that Hercules is this Zeus's youngest son.
Yes.
So we start there. There's no blood relation in any of the pairings of things, but the Hades and Wicked Villains is the father of Neon Gods' Hades. So
that's weird math.
Hades. So this Hades, he thought that his parents were killed in a fire. That Hades, old man Hades Senior escaped because he thought that his son was killed. The wife is dead.
Oh, that sucks.
I am assuming. At this point,
who knows?
You know what? Here's the thing. The very last
dead until assumed.
Really though, but that's what I'm going with because the last book there are 2 love interests for our main protagonist. They're both redacted. I can't say. I know who one of them is. I wouldn't be shocked if the other one ends up being Hades' ex-wife.
That's fair.
I wouldn't be shocked, but so Hades Senior escaped because he assumed his son had been killed. Hades Junior. It's weird saying it that way, but that's the best way that I can do it because he doesn't actually have a name. Because in this world, they're titles, but for some of them,
their names, right?
Well, they're titles, but as we go on, we'll see as the titles get moved on. There's one book where the characters have a hard time letting go of their previous name, so you hear a lot of flip flopping of being called by different names by their title versus their name. But sometimes if they've been the title for so long, we just don't know what their first name, what their name actually is.
I kind of like that though, because that can be an interesting way to look at transitioning in certain ways of life. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Well, because Zeus. I say this is not a spoiler-free podcast. Zeus does not make it to the end of the book. His son Perseus takes on the role of Zeus, and Callisto ends up marrying him and becoming Hera. I
But
love
like,
Callisto. I'm so excited for their book. It doesn't come out until like the end of next year, but I'm so excited.
we will get there.
It's book 9.
Oof. I did like the apart from like Persephone slapping Hades, I really liked that excerpt as well though, because like Zeus within Greek mythology tends to be pretty horrible
All
when
of
you look into it.
all of Greek mythology was summed up in the gospel truth from Hercules of, and then along came Zeus. Done.
Exactly.
It's the end
like,
of Greek mythology.
Just end there. I did enjoy I wrote the chapters next to this, not that it was needed, but
I have the page numbers.
In case I needed to find it. Chapter 6, when Persephone says, "Silly me for thinking that you're among the percentage of the human population that doesn't worship at the altar of the hymen." And I was like,
I highlight that one too.
That was so, because it is such a thing, and I hate that it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Hymens don't work that way.
No, they don't.
People don't understand this. And by people, I mean men.
Yeah. Oh, God. I really love chapter 16. I don't brood, Hades. You're the very definition of brooding. So fucking true.
Which is very true, which works in line with my I don't know what chapter this is. It was page 133 where he says, I don't have friends. And what I wrote next to it was, okay, broody McBroodface.
Exactly. But then in that same chapter, though, the knife, like, they got some knife play in there. It was
a little bit of knife play.
A little bit of knife play. I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is probably definitely the weirdest episode I think we've ever recorded.
I think
and we've done dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, that's the thing of like our last book club was dinosaurs, and now we are into spicy Greek mythology retelling. Like it's definitely
it gets weirder when you mention the next book.
Should we do you want to wait or
just
should we
go ahead?
The next book is The Hobbit.
And it was completely by chance.
Completely random based off of our wheel of elimination was The Hobbit. So
I mean, the wheel is fighting against us, man.
Or is really the wheel is creating chaos.
Pure fucking chaos.
Is really what I'm going with.
And then we get back to the very definition line again, though, because later in chapter 20, you haven't taken me back to your sex dungeon. It's not a sex dungeon. Hades, it's the very definition of a sex dungeon.
I mean, it is.
It really is. I really enjoyed that aspect, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't realize at first when they were like, oh, yeah, I have this place. Like, oh, no, he has a place.
Well, again, this was like, I don't know if this was meant to parallel the one from Learn My Lesson, because Hades, in that realm, there is a sex club. That's kind of the focal point of the world of that city that Hades owns and operates. So I don't know if this was meant to kind of be like a parallel to that. Like Hades emulating his father, whether he knows it or not.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'll get to those eventually. And like, if people want to see my reviews from that, like,
that's one.
Those are for that.
Those are even spicier than I.
How do you get? Okay, I have to. I know you can.
I know you can, because here's my thing with the spice, like of just publishing in general. Traditional publishing does have standards they have to adhere to. Like Katee Robert, every book is like, how much further can I go? How much further can I go? Each book just gets progressively spicier, but the Wicked Villains books were indie published, so there were kind of really no regulation as to what needed to get done. So that's what I say about the Wicked Villains books. That one doesn't as much have an underlying through line where you have to read them in order. Like I say with Dark Olympus, after Wicked Beauty, so after book 3, you really do got to read them in order. Otherwise, the underlying plot makes no sense. But Wicked Villains is when I say, look at the pairings, look at the tropes, content warnings, and read the one that jumps out at you, because some of them, I think, are too hard for some people to read. The very first one involves consensual non-consent, so which is not for everybody.
No, it's not.
So, like, that's one that, like, a lot of people that I've recommended the series to, I'm like, please look at these content warnings, because I know I personally do not have a whole lot of triggers. The triggers that I tend to have aren't triggers for, like, spicy books. It's more for, like, someone dying of cancer.
That's fair.
That's a trigger that I usually need if that's going to be like a significant topic in a book. But like when it comes to these kind of triggers, they don't bother me. But I'm like, I always make sure, please read content warnings.
Good to know, though. I'm glad I know that now. The last line I actually wrote down, because like I said, I reached a point. I just no notes, just vibes and great time.
You found your tabs in your book.
I did. I found the tabs still in my book. There's 2 tabs actually like done in the book. I could not put it down. Like it was was a little crazy. I think I finished this pretty quickly.
Yeah, you did.
But my last one I wrote is like, I need men to get on board. I love my husband. Let me start there. I love my husband. I need men to be more like this, though. She's a golden goddess, and I'm just a mortal who will never deserve her. Oh my god. Oh. And then the last thing I wrote was just, oh my god, the puppies.
The puppies, Cerberus, Scylla, and Charybdis.
It was amazing.
Those are great names.
Puppies. Amazing.
But I'm so glad that you liked this book. Because quite frankly, I had a feeling you were going to, but with spicy romance, if it's not what you're used to, it really can go either way. And you had other friends that were like, I don't know how you're going to feel about this. And like, you had to be like, it's for a book club and I have a friend that's prepping me through it. Then they're like, okay, you're good probably. Because I think the fact that you had me to just warn you about things may have helped a little bit.
We kind of like discussed through the triggers together to figure out like how I was with it.
Exactly.
And like, I'm fine with spice. I feel like I have to say that a lot sometimes. Like, I'm fine with spice. I just don't always reach for it. Like, I know a lot of people do.
I think, because it's a thing of like, your friends want to protect you, which is why they're like, just be careful with this. Because you don't, because I think because what you predominantly read is, not romantasy. Because you've proudly proclaimed a lot of times that you skip spicy scenes in romantasy books.
Like, I have read some romantasy that I'm like, well, this is a weird placement for a sex scene. Where do I get back to the battle? Like, it's...
Well, like, that's why one of the books that I was going to recommend my friend the other day when I was texting you, because this was peak reference librarian of use all your resources. You are a resource for me. I was going to...
You're welcome.
You are. Shoot, she said she wanted fantasy. I'm like, Katee.
Yes.
You can do this. And I'd already recommended To Shape a Dragon's Breath.
Which everyone should read.
I'm pretty sure she put a hold on it at the library. But that was why I was gonna recommend A River of Golden Bones, and I'm like, she's even worse with spice than you are.
Oh, not A River of Golden Bones then.
No. Like, I think she would really enjoy the world building of that aspect, and like she might even like the fated mates thing, but not the spice itself.
Oh, I skipped the spice I skipped the spice in that one. I did.
I was listening to the audiobook and it was narrated by Vico Ortiz, so I very much read that.
I got a physical arc, and I really liked the base story, like the plot. And then there was like a chance for spice, and I was like, why are we not doing this now? And then we get to this different point, and I'm like, wait a minute, we had an opportunity this many chapters ago. Why are we doing it now when there's like high stakes? Like, you had a tent to yourself.
Right.
What are you doing? And I think with that alone, I was like, okay, spice boring. But the next book is supposed to be sapphic.
Yeah, I think the next book, we get two perspectives because there's two narrators on the audiobook.
Yeah,
so I think
it's her sister.
Yeah, it's her and her sister.
So, not them together. It's
they are the 2 points of view. We will see the other sister with her mate, who is a woman, I believe.
So I'm really excited for that. I'm going to request the arc for that one as well. Because I'm really excited for it because it's sapphic. Well, I've also told you before, I prefer spice in books if it is sapphic, which was a fun surprise that I enjoyed the spice in this.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm pretty sure the only spice I've sent you up until now has been sapphic. This is queer. I stand by this. And both characters talk about past relationships within same-sex relationships. But I say this all the time, and this is from the author as well. All Katee Robert characters are queer until proven otherwise.
So it felt like I really enjoyed it because I have to be invested in the characters to enjoy the spice. If I don't like the characters, or even if I only like one and don't like the other, I may not enjoy the spice and end up skipping it, which may sound crazy to some people, but I have done that many times.
And that's fair. It's your book. It's your book, your reading experience. You do what you need to. And
then Lauren sends me books, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is good."
Lauren knows sapphic romance really well.
Okay, but Triple Sec was.
It takes a lot to beat my previous favorite book of all time, and Triple Sec has surpassed it.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even a question. Like
I'm still up there with Delilah Green too, though. I love Delilah Green.
I was talking to one of the authors at the event at YAM, and the one that I was showing my reading spreadsheet to.
And I love that you were showing your reader spreadsheet off.
She asked to see it.
Hell yes.
And she asked me, she's like, "Oh, so what's your favorite book that you read all year?" And I went to go look through my spreadsheet. I'm like, "No, sorry, Triple Sec." It took me a second. I'm like, "There's not even a thought." That's my favorite book that I've read all year, because it's by TJ Alexander, if I haven't said that already.
Yeah, no,
It's
I'm
up there.
with you on that one,
Yeah.
though. I'm looking at my small collection.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have like 2 shelves of like mainly fantasy books, and then like half a shelf is my romance. That 90% of it was sent to me from Lauren.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I did just read I don't remember the author. The Neighbor Favor.
Oh yeah.
And that was also a straight romance.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it because the male main character is an author.
Okay.
And they both work in like writing, and one's a the female woman in it is in publishing.
Oh, okay.
And so like, okay, it is by Christina Forrest.
Gotcha.
And it was so good because it kind of starts off as almost kind of like a You've Got Mail situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really good.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to. It was so good. So you're going to get book recommendations while listening to about a book.
Right? Well, like literally today I finished A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. That one, it's the woman is an English professor. The man is a former New York Times book critic, now owns a bookstore in what is essentially the fictional town of her favorite book series. She gets lost in a storm. And it's almost like Rip Van Winkle magical realism. It's like that's basically what I can consider it. It's because she gets stuck in what she thinks should be a fictional town, and she meets all the characters from her favorite book series. See, we us readers, we eat that up. You make it meta, like it's so good.
That's so good.
That book was so good because it was so much about like, it's like what I say a lot about Once Upon a Time is like that show like suggests that these characters are as real as they feel to us. This book was like, yep, your favorite characters are as real as they feel to you. Here she is. Go to their wedding. Like can't recommend that one enough. I just finished it today.
It's just so funny because like when writing, we do base so much of what we write off of real things.
Yeah, you have to. So we've been talking a lot about Neon Gods, like the book itself, but also like maybe we should talk a little bit about Hades and Persephone as the myth.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah, we should probably do that.
A little bit. So I will have linked the Overly Sarcastic Productions video about Hades and Persephone. I love that YouTube channel to death. They're the ones that do trope talk videos. And like they do mythology ones and other stuff. And like it's a great video. I pull a lot of stuff out of it. But like basically the myth of Hades and Persephone depends on the depiction you're looking at. Sometimes she's kidnapped, sometimes she isn't. Apparently, I did get this from the YouTube video. The iconography, the poses for marriage and abduction were essentially the same.
Oh.
So it could go either way. But
okay.
Basically, the version most people go with is, and again, we can blame Zeus on this.
Oh yeah.
Zeus
is to blame for everything.
Hades is lonely and has a crush on Persephone, and so Zeus, being her father, says, yep, you can go marry her. Basically, it's an arranged marriage. He just gives her, he's like, yep, you can go marry her. It's fine. But doesn't tell Demeter. So Persephone goes with Hades to the underworld, and Demeter is sad. And because of this, we have winter, because she refuses to make anything grow. And Persephone's hanging out in the underworld and living her best life as the queen of the underworld, because why not?
Yep.
And eventually, because Demeter is eternally sad and there's eternal winter, humanity is dying, and the other gods don't like that. So they make a deal. There's the iconography of the pomegranate. Like some say the reason why she splits her time is because she ate a number of pomegranate seeds from the underworld, and therefore she's bound to the underworld for a certain number of months per year, kind of thing. But like it's to make Demeter happy, but also so Persephone can be with her husband. She spends half the year up in the
symbolism.
It's symbolism, because all of Greek mythology, the mythology stories are there to explain things. So this was their way of explaining seasons. Was Persephone spends half the year with Demeter up in the land of the living, so that's why we have spring and we have summer and we have like the harvest and all that other stuff. And she spends a few months of the year in the underworld, and Demeter is sad, and that's why we have winter. Like that's the point of the story. And like Hades and Persephone, I would say, is probably your most common retelling when it comes to modern romance fiction. If they're going to do I mean, I say as I've written one for anthology. So like, yeah, it's popular. Because also I would say a lot of it comes with it like similar elements to Beauty and the Beast retellings.
It really does, because of how Hades is seen so much. within mythology, which is so interesting because coming from my background with Norse,
Mm-hmm.
like they make underworld, afterlife, it doesn't have to be seen as like, oh no, it's this horrible place that you go.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when it comes to hell, Hel, in Norse mythology, it's just the place that you go. You just don't go with any honor.
Yeah. Okay.
You end up in like halls like Valhalla. There's multiple halls as well, but the main one that everybody knows is Valhalla. You end up there if you die with honor.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't die with honor, or in battle or anything like that, you
Mm-hmm.
end up just going to hell. But hell is just it's not bad. You're
Yeah.
not being tortured.
Mm-hmm.
You're there.
Exactly. Like, what's the thing, like, with Hades as the Lord of the Underworld, like, as the oldest sibling of, like, the big three, he's entitled to basically the kingdom of men in that all humans eventually become his subjects.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool when you think about it. And,
it's so cool.
And, like, the biggest thing for, like, the Grecian underworld is it's not, like, most people end up in, like, I think in the poplar fields where, like, you're just kind of there. Like,
yeah.
You have to do something really, really terrible to be sent to where you get tortured, or you have to you need to die in battle and be a hero to go to Elysium. Like, most people are just, that's it. It's not fearful. It just kind of is what it is.
Which I love because that sounds familiar, right?
Exactly. Sounds familiar. All these mythologies are kind of the same. I mean, like, you change the names a little bit, but most things are kind of the same. So, but I mean, Greek mythology has always been a big thing for retellings. There's a lot of series that are like Greek mythology retellings. A lot of people will do a bunch of these. I mean, this is the only one that I've read the most of, I would say. I think I've read a few on and off, like a few like one-offs, none that are
like
memorable.
Percy Jackson's considered a retelling.
Yeah, it is. That's a heroic retelling.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie Hercules is a retelling. The names are all weird, but
I align very, very much with the Hades and Hercules.
Hey, how's it going? Looking good. Nice dress.
Yeah, I very much relate to Hades in that. Not so much in Neon Gods, but in this.
In Hercules, so like, oh, Hades, how are things in the world? Well, it's just fine. It's a little dark, a little gloomy, and as always, hey, full of dead people. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Now I need to rewatch it.
Again, I mean, James Woods as a person isn't necessarily the nicest person in the world, but he does a phenomenal Hades, and like, there's just, he's so good. I mean, that's the thing, is he got that part because he didn't make it like this big booming kind of voice. He was just like, Hades, hey, how's it going? Like, he took a fresh take on it. So we do have some questions from our Patreon. I'll kind of do that and do some of my notes, and then we'll see what going. Because the first question is one specifically for me, which is the topic that I wanted to go into. Because we have questions from a couple of our patrons, Brianna being one of them, and she asked, "What am I most excited to talk about?" As this was my pick. And for me, I like to bring stats into this. So what I like to do.
Stats? You?
No, right? So what I did for this, in addition, I'm showing this as if people can see this. In addition to my,
you'll have to just clip.
Yeah. In addition to the tabs of like my notes and like my highlights, I tabbed the sex scenes because I like to do stats. This was a series that I did, or it was at least a video that I did on my TikTok for one of the Kickstarters that Katee did for the Peculiar Taste series. I took spicy stats of each book. So what I did for this one was I marked each scene. I marked how long it was. And then we also know like where the spice starts. So I have for spicy stats for Neon Gods. Neon Gods in total is how many pages? So the book itself is 367 pages. In those 367 pages, there are a total of 9 spicy scenes. The average length of these spicy scenes is 7.2 pages.
Wow.
The percent spicy, and I also like, here's the thing, is like the length, because spice, it's subjective. So like what one person might deem, like what I might just deem like foreplay, someone's like, oh my god, it's a spicy scene, what are we doing here? Like if they're just like talking, doing dirty talk, whatever, I wouldn't have, I counted the spice starting as like contact.
Yeah.
So the average length of the spicy scenes was 7.2 pages. The percent of the book that is spicy, the total percentage was 17%.
Not bad.
And the spice starts on page 106, it starts at the 28% mark.
Not bad either.
No, not at all. I mean, like, and that's early, because like figure Homework After Dark usually is like at the 2/3, like the 66% mark usually. Mm-hmm. Some books are before, some books are after. It depends on the book, but this starts. I mean, with the exception of book 4, I think this might be the longest it takes. Because Wicked Beauty was in chapter like 3, but also that one starts with a pre-existing couple. Cruel Seduction, it's in chapter 1.
Nice.
That Cruel Seduction's my favorite. That's the open polynot one. That's Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Pandora, and Adonis.
I'm here for that.
I love that one so much.
It's a lot of hands.
It is well, okay, so Pandora is only involved with Aphrodite. Like, she's not in the large. It's just Sapphic Pandora, but then you do also have the triad aspect that is Aphrodite, Hephaestus, and Adonis.
I mean, Pandora would be Sapphic.
She's I believe bisexual, but in the case of their polycule, she's just with Aphrodite, and it's wonderful. I can't recommend it enough.
I'll get there
eventually. So another one of Brianna's questions was, did Demeter remind either of us of Cora? Because within a few pages, I was like, oh my god, this reminds me of Regina being married to the king with the Zeus situation. And I wrote in my margins, I'm like, well, there's our Cora. There's our Cora moment.
Demeter with the power and the manipulation and planning in the background, all of it was very, very Cora.
Yep. I wrote that down a couple times. I'm like, yep, that's a Cora thing. Or like, even like I was comparing Persephone to Regina with the masochistic tendencies, like we saw in the once episode we recorded today, of when her line of, yes, that'll show them. Losing a few toes and fingers to frostbite will definitely hurt my mother and Zeus more than it hurts me.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that sounds right.
The masochistic tendencies. I think Cora, because Peter also asked, did Demeter remind you of Cora, and do you think Demeter had better intentions than Cora? I think she did, in that her intention was for Zeus to basically be incapacitated, so he'd never touch her.
Yeah.
Almost in a case of like, you didn't watch Game of Thrones, but
nope.
When Marjorie gets married to Joffrey, it's her grandmother poisons him so that Marjorie can never be hurt by him, kind of thing. Like, she maintains the power without ever actually having to be in any danger, kind of thing. It's a lot more. It's more along those lines of like, we're going to incapacitate Zeus so you can have all the power, but not be hurt.
But like, maybe let us in on the plan, Mom.
Yeah, maybe tell me what you want me to do so I don't run away into the night screaming.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just a thought.
Perhaps. So, did you enjoy the world building in this novel?
I did.
Another one of Brianna's questions?
I did. I really, really enjoyed the world building. I need more of it. And that's actually the spice. Like, I love their relationship. I ended up really, really loving Hades and Persephone together. Shocker.
Oh.
But the plot behind it, I'm like, okay, wait, Zeus is dead. What's happening next? What are we doing? I'm very, very interested. I haven't picked up the next one as of yet. Yeah. I wanted to record this before I picked up the next one. Mm-hmm. Also, we have a deadline in 10 days. So, I'll get there.
Eventually.
Let me get past the deadline. Plus my own book club that I run. Like, all the things that I, need to get done. So
We're a little busy.
Just a little bit. So I think after I get through August, maybe I'll start doing like one Katee Robert book a month and slowly getting myself through them, which is plenty of time for when the later books come out. Yeah. So it works out. But I love the world building. I want to see more. Mm-hmm. But, you only get so much.
Yeah.
So I've got to keep reading.
Because this one is more setting up our world dynamic. It's like there's going to be war in Olympus, but actually it ends up being fine. Because we'll see like the greater plot of the series. Because I feel like for a 10-book series, I can't speak for other romance series that do have like a whole like I haven't read the Bridgerton books. I don't know, but like I can't speak for like other big series, but like this type of series, I feel like it can only sustain 10 books because there's an underlying plot of something is happening.
And at least Katie's going to finish the series.
Yes, it was they are completely like they're good through book 10. So it's going to get completed. But because these books are selling fantastically.
Might just be a stab at George R.R. Martin.
Just a little bit.
Just maybe finish the series.
Just give someone the manuscript. But like you can't really sustain. And that was Brianna's next question of, do you plan on reading the rest of the series? Which the answer is yes. Because like without the underlying plot of like there's someone on the outside who's looking to take down Olympus. That's what you're going to see post book the 3. Because like, so book 1, I think, is setting up the dynamics of Olympus and setting up the 13 and setting up how this works. And we see one aspect of how a title can change by virtue of Perseus taking over for his father. The next book will again show another way that a title can change by one person just going off the rails and no longer being fit for service.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be fun. And then in the third one, we're going to see another way that titles can change because Ares is going to be up for grabs, and that's entirely different setup. It's not an election. It's not our legacy. it's a Hunger Games type situation. No one dies because
I got a little excited.
It's Hunger Games like situation, but they're not supposed, like, they're like, you're not allowed to kill people, but like I was afraid someone was gonna die in that book. That book gave me anxiety, but it was great. And then after that is like the underlying plot of someone is seeking to take down Olympus becomes very apparent.
Okay.
And from then on, that's kind of how the underlying plot goes. So
who doesn't love a good long series?
I know if you had told me when I started reading in 2020 that I would be enthralled in a 10-book spicy Greek mythology retelling series, I would have told you were crazy.
Me getting back into reading in 2021, I didn't start back into my niche of dragons, but I really should have known.
Yeah.
Honestly, because it did not take long. It took no time at all for me to be like, wait a minute, I love dragons.
Mm-hmm. So which of the 13 would you like to be? That was one of Peter's questions.
Hermes.
I love Hermes so much.
I can go wherever the fuck I want.
Right? I would like to be Dionysus just because he's also one that like just doesn't care. And
he's so chill.
And they could be besties.
Yeah, there you go.
We'd be besties. And Sammy had a good question of why do you think Hades and Persephone was chosen as the first couple for the Dark Olympus series?
It's a good starter couple.
Yeah. Because
it's been a retelling so many times, you know that people are going to pick that up.
Oh yeah.
It's a good start.
I think so. It's a good start because I think it's the most popular retelling, like you said, and then also I think this one lends itself more to the infighting that was needed. Like the other couples will require outside people to kind of make them happen, but this one very much lends itself to being more infighting. My notes are not entirely like normal, I guess.
Are they ever?
I mean, no. But like page 75, I just wrote down, we love the logic of save me by fucking me.
Yeah,
It's great logic.
But show everybody you're doing it.
Show everybody you're doing it because that's important. It's the special way you tarnish your reputation. Persephone is the epitome of I'm a damsel, I'm in distress, I can handle this. Have a nice day.
She really is. Katee must have been envisioning Hercules Megara when writing this.
Given the fact that they've written Hades, or Meg and Hercules, because Learn My Lesson, I think, is my favorite of the Wicked Villain series. I love the two Sapphic ones. I love The Sea Witch and I love Queen Tix Rose, but like Learn My Lesson is the one that I reread the most, and I think it's because it's the dynamic that I find the most interesting.
Okay.
And Meg is my favorite character of that series because she basically just is a slightly more adult version of the animated cartoon. I might have agreed to sex unhappily, but I did not agree to you signing on as the world's crankiest babysitter. Yes, I agreed to be fucked, not cared for.
I love this book. Like, seriously, though. Like, Katee, how do you do it? Like, these are amazing.
This is what I mean when I say that, like, my notes are not normal. Because, like, I wrote down, I will dom you into caring for yourself. Like,
oh, yeah.
That's...
Been there.
That's the...
Have you eaten today? Yes.
Those are the notes that I took. That's why I didn't write down all of them. Because believe it or not, they get weirder than that in the actual book. Which is... Like I said earlier, by the time this is out, I will have likely met the author and they will have stamped this copy with annotations and appreciate that they are annotated, but please don't read them.
Just want you to take pictures of your craziest, like most wild notes that you've annotated in there.
Like...
And show them to us all.
I would, but like you'd have to be able to read my handwriting.
I teach homeschool.
Oh, that's true.
I can read just about anything.
This is true.
I was going to be a history major. Just saying, I was a history major. To be in that field, you tend to have to be able to like read some interesting handwriting.
That's fair.
Never finished my degree though.
That's okay. It happens. Okay. It happens. This might be one of my favorite lines that I wrote down.
No.
121. Do you know I'm just hedonistic enough to be orgasm motivated?
Yeah, no, I have to agree though.
Yeah, honestly.
Like if that's my motivation.
But like there's like that's just Persephone in a nutshell. Ultimately.
Very much so.
By the end of the day. But this is like very indicative. Like this is like one of my last like solid kind of notes from the book. Because it's from like page 289. Because like, and that's the case of like this is a romance novel, so like ultimately the relationship is the core aspect of the book at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but I wrote down, after 100 pages of fucking, we found the plot again. I'll kill him for you is hardly the kind of romantic gesture a person wants to hear, but you know, we found the plot again.
That's up to debate, but yeah,
it depends on the book. But it's like yeah, we did kind of take a 100-page detour from the plot.
I'm okay with this detour.
But it's a romance novel, and so like it really always kind of begs the question of what's the A plot? Is it the relationship or is it the actual plot?
And like even through that though, you had those moments of like we're lying in wait, waiting to see what's gonna happen. We know this is brewing. Oh wait, she's sucking my dick. Like that's really what it was. Like honestly.
You're gonna I say that as if this is a you problem too. I am gonna have such a hard time finding a title that doesn't have a word we can't put in the title.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I mean, I nominated this book.
You did nominate this.
It's my fault.
This is all your fault.
I blame myself.
I'm not wrong though.
No, you're not wrong. But
it's good to know that Persephone gives great blowjobs. It's great knowing that information.
That would have made such a good title, but I can't make it the title of the podcast.
Spotify might flag us, man.
Spotify might be like, what? I mean, there are people that do like kink and sexuality.
They love Joe Rogan.
That's true. I was going to say, like, there are kink and like sexuality-based podcasts on Spotify, so we'll see what I come up with.
If I can see a lady teach how to give a blowjob with a grapefruit on YouTube, we can post.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Unfortunately.
The vacuum noises.
Don't remind me. I was traumatized enough.
I'm not sorry.
No, you're not. So, just to get back at you for this. So,
oh, man.
So, part of, what we do for books, for anything, is ratings, star ratings, what have you.
Yes.
I also asked Katee to think about a spice rating. So
do I have a number?
I'll give you a number. So here's my thing.
Okay.
So I know I gave the spicy stats of like it's 28% spicier or 17% spicy, whatever I said. I like to rate books on a scale of 1 to 5, and I do decimals in between of like, kind of show you like where on the range of things you would put books and stuff. So usually a one spice level is like no spice at all. It's like a one spice for me is usually like a YA novel. Like there should not be any like amount of explicit content whatsoever. A 2 would be like it's mentioned, but like it's either a fade to black, so you kind of hit like you start as the clothes are coming off, and then you cut to the next one, or like even it's like just like Nora Roberts, you kind of like talking about the emotions. 3 for me is where you hit explicitly describing what's happening.
Okay.
And that can be arranged depending on what the content is, but that's usually like once we hit like use of like anatomy and like the actions and you're seeing it's on page, that would be a 3. The main thing that separates a 3 and a 4 for me is the amount. So like usually like, I have a range of what I would consider, 3 spice, but like there's not a huge difference of explicit content. 5 is where we're hitting into really heavy kink, taboo, anything that like would get close to triggering me.
Okay. See, my brain's sitting there like, oh, you have no spice. And then like the one closed door that's like not any spice level. That'd be like a 0. That's where my brain went with that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the
there's a range
explanation.
Because here's the thing with me is this is going to surprise you, but maybe not given what I read. I consider this to be about a 3.3 on my spice scale.
I was going to say about like a 3.5.
Okay.
For myself is where I would put off of that
what I gave you, because like especially having read other books by this author where they are much more like
if you hadn't given me all that I'd be like, oh, it's like a 2 because my brain went, oh no, it's this. No, based off yours,
based
like
off of that. Yeah, so this is like a low 3 for me. Like the book that has to go nameless because SMP. That is one of the very few traditionally published books that I give a 4, just simply for the amount. Oh, yeah. Because, like,
that's a 4.
Just for the amount. Like, it's, honestly, numbers-wise, might be comparable to this. But it's also...
They have a good time.
But it's also in the context of the story. You expect this out of this type of book versus that one, you kind of don't expect that level. And there's a little more, I guess, taboo-y kind of whatever with it because it's best friend's mom.
Yeah.
So...
Damn, it was good though.
It's a good book. I've read it a lot of times.
I may need to reread soon.
I recommend it. So for a star rating, what do you give this one?
4.5.
Okay.
I do go half ratings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go quarter ratings very often,
Mm-hmm.
but I do half ratings on books
Okay.
at least. Now, this was a solid 4.5. Not a 5.
Okay.
I will say. I love a good brat, but like Persephone can get annoying at sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were times I'm like, Persephone, just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Bend over. Like, why are we doing this?
You're right.
So yeah, solid 4.5.
Okay.
So not terrible. Like I
No.
hope you're keeping this in a spreadsheet somewhere because I have this listed nowhere.
Oh, what? Like the ratings for the books?
Everything that I'm saying, like I got nothing for you.
No, I don't have any of this written down.
Me either.
But so the first time I read this was not long after it came out. I think I read it on vacation. Because like it's a beach read, kind of.
Oh yeah, that's a beach read.
I sent a coworker of mine. We're talking about the Silo series on Apple TV Plus, and I mentioned
I need to read that.
I mentioned that it's based on a book because I have the book, and so I sent her the link because she's on vacation. I was like, yeah, nothing says beach read more than than like a post-apocalyptic dystopian sci-fi novel, right? So the first time I read this, I was also newer. I was still getting back into reading. I was newer to this style of writing, like this, like the dark romance, the retell, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it, I think, a 4 last time. I didn't check, but I think it was somewhere in my 4 range. But this time I read it with the audiobook again. It was the annotations changed the experience for me. I knew I was going to get to talk to you about it. This time around, it was a 5.
Nice.
So this was, I like when books on rereads when they get better. Like the rating gets better.
Same.
If it doesn't already start at a 5, like I like seeing that it gets better when you keep rereading it. Because like this series, it's so long, and it's been so long since I read this. Like it's been the book came out 3 years ago, so I think 2-3 years ago is when it had to have been. Because I've been
they work fast.
I've been pretty up to date. I don't think this has this might have the also by, or it might not. No, it doesn't. But one of the books I have has like the also by this author. At the time of publication, they'd written 70 books.
Wow.
Yeah. And like they put out roughly like 5 to 6 books a year. So
that's wow. And I can't finish a short story.
I don't know how they do it. But so I think I've been pretty up to date. So I want to say I read this not too long after it came out. So it's been 3 years since I read it. So like it was a new experience. Like I know what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens with these long series is if you go back, like you have so much more context. And like rewatching your favorite TV series, you have so much more context. You forget things that happen. You forget moments. You find new favorite lines. And
it's like when we started the shows back up
to
do the podcast together. It was a whole nother world of watching.
Yeah.
Honestly, there were things I had no idea about my own show.
I find new things about Once Upon a Time all the time, and that's weird.
This is probably the funnest like passion project I think we've ever done.
I think so.
It's been
because
freaking blast.
It really does enable our neurospicy brains that just like to. Well, that's the point of it. Is we wanted to info dump about our favorite media, and that's what's happened for
very much so
a year.
God, it's been a year.
It's been over a year.
This is crazy. I'm
surprised you still like me.
I like you more if that's possible.
Okay, good. I like you too.
Okay, you have. So you said there's a relationship map.
Yes. So this is one thing you asked me when I first mentioned the different books. So do you want me to like run down the couples for the different books? Because the map isn't necessarily the easiest thing to follow because it is up to date with what we know of what the pairings are going to be. It's not the most. It's not the easiest thing to follow.
At least they got Patroclus and Achilles together.
Yeah. So the way that the books go, the rest of the pairings are so the second book is Electric Idol. I'm just staring at them at my shelf so I don't forget. Electric Idol is Psyche and Eros. So Psyche is one of Persephone's sisters. The third book, Wicked Beauty, is Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen, which is a fun combo. The fourth book is Apollo and Cassandra. That's Radiant Sin. Cruel Seduction, as mentioned before, is Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Adonis, and Pandora. So that's a fun one. Midnight Ruin, which is book 6, is Orpheus, Eurydice, and Charon, which is also a fun time. Book 7, which comes out tomorrow as of recording, that is Ariadne and the Minotaur. They are not biologically related. And then book I think Sweet Obsession, I don't know the names of the ones going forward. Book 8 is Icarus and Poseidon, which will make sense when you meet the characters.
Yeah.
Then the 9th book is going to be Zeus and Hera, so that's Perseus and Callisto.
Yeah, this is the weirdest.
It's a weird relationship map. And then the final book is Hermes and 2 women that are redacted.
Yeah, I kind of need, like, to take out the friends, children of, fosters. Just show me who's fucking who. Like, I'm so confused. Like, I'm so confused.
You wanted a relationship map? Here's a relationship map.
I know, but, like, I don't care who's friends or who's, like, everyone's friends with Hermes. Like, it's Hermes.
Yeah, it's like everyone's got a green line towards Hermes.
Everybody does. And I'm just sitting here looking at this like, there's too much blue. I don't care who's mom or dad. I mean,
for some of them, you kind of need to know.
Okay, that's there. Okay, I'll get this down eventually.
It's the thing is, like, here's the thing is, this would be like if I gave you the Once Upon a Time family tree fully completed right now. You're seeing this map up until what we know through book 9.
Oh, it's gonna get more lines. There's gonna be more.
No, the lines. So right now, this map is pretty much done. Redacted and Redacted will just have names.
But there's another book. There's a book 10.
No, I know. What I'm saying is, so the by book 10 is when the Redacteds will go away, is my guess.
It still only hurts my head a little trying to figure out.
Yeah.
You know?
Just a little bit.
I like that the Redacted, it's complicated.
Like, we'll see how complicated in book 10, but I'm very excited. But here's the thing is, like, book 7, Dark Restraint, that I just finished, it makes me so, I mean, I will read book 8. It'll be a good time because if there's anyone that I trusted to Achillean romance, well, it is Katee Robert.
Oh God, yes.
But, like, it makes me so excited for the Zeus Hera book in book 9.
That I'm really excited for that, but I want, like, a good Zeus, not a.
Well, you're gonna see their relationship is interesting. Perseus and Callisto's relationship is interesting, and that's
Zeus isn't my favorite, just like Greek mythology.
Perseus isn't much better.
Yeah. No.
Trust me, you've yet to see anything with Perseus.
And, like, I've only read one Achilles and Patroclus retelling.
That was what's not Achilles.
Yeah. It was a book.
I said about Madeline Miller's writing, and, like, again, if you like her writing style, more power to you.
I liked Circe, but only that one.
But, like, this is my thing of why I figured out I don't like her books. I mean, Circe was one for me where I didn't feel like it added anything new to the story that I didn't already know. So it was kind of, for me, it was like, why did I read this? But in addition to it, from the other things that I've read, is she takes stories that are already very traumatic and she just adds more trauma. And, like,
that's valid.
That's what I got. And what's really interesting is at YAM, one of the authors, Natalie Nadas, said about her book is she's self-published it, but she did originally it was on submission with publishers. And you read the book, Gave the Prey Away.
Yeah.
And what a lot of publishers were saying was they would love to buy it if she would up the trauma. And she was like, but this is my experience. This is they don't need to get locked in a closet to make the trauma feel grounded.
Yeah.
So, like,
it was traumatic enough.
And, like, I'm very proud of her for saying no. Like, I'm not going to make it more traumatic just because you think it'll sell better. I think it'll sell the way that it does and the way that it is. And she was right.
It sold great.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a good book.
Can't recommend it enough. But yeah.
It was traumatic enough as a growing up Baptist alone. And I wasn't even in the same cult. Yeah. Like, mine was a little different.
Yep. But yeah, so the relationship map, as you read the books, it'll make sense.
Yeah, because right now it just hurts my eyes.
My eyes. That's fair. My eyes.
My eyes.
Blinded by the light. But yeah, so would you say you're like, I mean, you're going to likely to read Katee Roberts' books at least Dark Olympus going forward. So can I send you darker romances, or at least more spicier romances? Not that I think, honestly, I have much else to send you, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I think we're good on that front right now.
Yeah.
You've sent me a lot over the past year.
I'm looking at, of my shelf, like, there's really nothing else that, like, I haven't already sent you that would get progressively spicier other than, well, you haven't read Love and Other Disasters yet.
What is that one?
That one is sapphic couple, woman, non-binary person on a cooking competition show.
You had to say cooking.
It's a good one. So that one,
because I'm waiting on my I have a hold on Libby for the Chef's Kiss audiobook.
Okay. That's
So
a fantastic
on that so I can
one.
listen to that one. Because you know me and cooking.
Mm-hmm. That one's a 3-book collection of just like interconnected characters. The middle one is two men. Because it's like so. The first book, Dahlia and London. The second book, London's twin sister. It's her best friend is the main character.
Okay.
Of that one. That one's hiking the Pacific Coast Trail, which is just cool.
That's fun.
And then the last one is London's sister, whose name I can't remember right now, but it's lesbian basketball coaches.
Fun. I know nothing about basketball, but fun.
It's a good one. So I recommend all of those books by Anita Kelly, but more specifically Love and Other Disasters, because that one's my favorite.
We're just never going to finish our TBRs.
No, I don't. I really think if you came to this book club, like much like Sammy's lives, like they're not really good for your TBR or your wallet.
No. I have actually steered clear of TikTok for a while because between avoiding spoilers, that was one big reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if it's just if the content enough just coming from our podcast account was enough to start showing me Once Upon a Time, and it got to a point I was like, I really don't want spoilers so bad.
No, that's fair.
I don't. But then I found myself doom scrolling so much that I'm like, I need to take a step back for my mental health.
And that's okay.
And it has helped. It has so helped.
That's perfectly fair.
Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed the book club episode, and we hope you'll join us next quarter when we read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.